Backstory: I got into an accident after college and will never be able to have kids. None of my family members know about this. They know about the accident, but not about this. I have always wanted to be child-free, so it did not affect me much mentally. I have finished my master's degree last year and never dated before. I got a very high-paying job directly through campus placements. My parents immediately wanted me to get married after getting a job, but I wanted to work on myself and explore a bit. They said no, and I said that it was my wish. All my life, I did what they wanted, and for the first time when I talked against them, they were not happy. This was last year, and they gave up after COVID started. So I picked up some dating apps and went through them, but no luck. Then my parents introduced me to family friend's daughter, and we kinda clicked. Looking back, I was a fool. She said yes to anything I said and never complained about anything. I felt kinda weird about it. I wanted her to express her interest, but she always said she was interested in whatever I do. Well, I did not think much about it. I said that I won't have kids ever, and she surprisingly said okay. I was like, damn, she is probably the one, as it's very hard to find a partner who is child-free in my country, or at least I thought. But we were in the initial stages, and I have not told about my accident. Long story short, we had sex a month ago. I used condoms because safety first. The next day on, she started ghosting me a bit. I thought it was due to my performance in bed and wanted to give her some space. Then she texted infrequently and only replied OKs and Ks and one-line answers. I thought maybe she wanted to end the relationship and was sad, but left it at that. Yesterday, all her family came to my house and she claims she's pregnant and the father is me. Needless to say, I freaked the heck out and wanted to collapse on the ground. I did not say anything while they were talking about marriage and stuff that needs to happen because I got her pregnant. Please advise me on what steps to take now, Reddit. Now for the top of advices before reading the update. Yup, I would only assume I am 100% sterile if I no longer have testicles. Beyond that, most sterility is a classification because of probabilities, but it only takes one lucky swimmer to make it through. That said, being told OP is sterile and using a condom, the odds are so astronomical that if a paternity test does prove this is OP's child, then the universe has decided OP's decision to be child-free was wrong with a big giant no signed to the face. Prove paternity before sterility. IIRC. A lot of times, sterile just means you're under a certain threshold. I'm assuming you're from a Western country. Not only is abortion illegal in many countries, but it's not even legal across the U.S. There are picketers at many Planned Parenthood clinics across the U.S. that offer many other services than abortions. So, not taboo if you're non-religious or from a secular country, which America is not. But in Asian countries, you knock someone up, you're marrying them, or it's shameful on your entire family. Do you really not understand that there are some countries in the world where women can get beat to death for getting an abortion? Women get beat or killed or abused for much less in some places. Are you really that uninformed about women's issues around the world? Or are you just trying to sound so progressive and open that you're pretending you don't understand why abortion is considered a big deal in some places? I'm baffled that you had no idea that this is a huge issue in some parts of the world where societal norms in many places treat women as property. I agree with this. Do not get married. It's time to step away from your family. You need to tell them the truth about your inability to have children, assuming that is still the case. She was probably pregnant before you guys were together and slept with you so she could peg you as the dad. Definitely get the baby tested, in addition to your sperm count. If your parents blame you for your inability to have kids, it's time to part ways. This is not something that should be held against you. Wait a sec on telling them about the sterility. Talk it over with the gal. We don't know their culture. If he says he's sterile before going to doctors and such, he could suffer a lot of abuse. IMO, he should first ensure he is still sterile and then talk to her in private. Let her know that the doctor says it's not his. If she still insists it is, ask her how she wants to handle it. Until such time there can be a paternity test. Marriage is straight up off the table. But that doesn't mean he can't be a united front with her until paternity. Sorry, but there are still areas of the world where she could be beaten to death for sleeping around. I couldn't agree more. Do not marry this woman, especially because there's a pretty big chance you aren't the father. You also do not give a timeline. What's the time between when you had sex and when she's saying she's pregnant? Because it takes a few weeks for your body to even alert you that you're pregnant unless you're actively trying. My hunch is she slept with you, was talking to someone else, and had sex with them. But since you two were seeing each other and family friends, it's easier to pin it on you. You should communicate to your family and hers that you were told you were sterile. I think this will give you breathing room to get a test for yourself and for her. You do not have to marry this person. You do not have to keep your parents happy. They sound super selfish and manipulative. You do not have to do anything you don't want to. Get tested and confirm that you, in fact, can't have kids. Do not sign the birth certificate. Get advice from an attorney as soon as you can and stay safe. Hell, even if he is sterile, he needs one. Just because someone sees medical evidence that proves you're not capable of fathering children won't stop people from saying that you're the daddy in some cases. He should be ready to prove that not only do his boys sink instead of swim, but that it's someone else's swimmers. It's possible that even with very low sperm count that nature found a way, but it's unlikely. It's not to say it doesn't happen ever, but it's rare that it's likely not OP's kid if he is still sterile. But a significantly low sperm count and a condom? That seems as close to impossible as it gets. Now for the update. First update. Let me start off by saying I'm very, very grateful for all the Redditors who took their time to read and give me advice. I was overwhelmed by the amount of comments and how many of you said it might not even be my kid. Looking at it from a different perspective gave me much more insight on the whole situation. I called my boss and took today off. I called up some clinics to get tested and was given a slot on Friday afternoon. Then I went to the store and bought some pregnancy tests and asked only for her to come to my place tomorrow, i.e. today morning. I also called my parents, and before I said anything, my mom asked if I had any good news. I was shocked by what she said and asked me what exactly she was talking about. She then played dumb, and I knew that the situation was more fucked than I thought. I cut the call and cried all night until 3 a.m. Grown-ass man crying for the first time since 8th grade class. She came today this morning with her parents, even though I told her to come alone. They were under the impression that I was going to discuss engagement plans with them. I told them to wait outside and called her in, and they threw a fit. I told that they can all go back or let her alone come in. They said okay. I took out the pregnancy test and gave it to her and told her to prove that she was actually pregnant and told her where the bathroom was. She started screaming at me. Never done this before, and I was shocked at this. Then she went out the door and called her parents in. Now everyone is screaming at me in my own home because I asked her to prove the pregnancy, not even a DNA test. I told them all to screw off. And 1 hour later, my parents and they all came to my home and they spilled the beans. She was never actually pregnant, as many Redditors said. My parents were afraid that I was getting old for marriage and wanted me to marry and give them grandchildren. They said that in arranged marriages, no need for people to actually get to know the spouse because parents choose only the best for their kids. They planned this and were only waiting for me to have sex with her to do this. I broke down and cried again. All my life, I did exactly what my parents wanted. Always scored high and never asked for anything. I told them to get out and never talk to me again in between crying, and they said parents know what's best for their kids, and I should do what they say. Then I got extremely angry and told them to screw themselves in my native language, which was very bad. For once, I think they knew I was serious with them, and they all left. I blocked them all before sending my parents a message to never again contact me in my life, even if one of you is dying. Cried for some more time, went through some dog videos, went through all of my messages on Reddit, and I feel like I owe you guys this update because it was you guys who helped me do this. This is all, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Second update. I want to thank you all for taking your time and reaching out and giving advice. The last few days, I feel like a burden was lifted off of me, especially from my parents, who always expect many things from me. The first day after the confrontation was a shit show. My parents forced relatives to reach out to me asking me to see reasons. LMAO. I declined. They stopped after 2 days after a harsh message from me requesting no contact. I also took appointments for family planning, vasectomy, which is next month. Some people asked if I would ever tell my family about this, but I will not. My body, my business. I will, of course, tell potential future dates that I am child-free, and also I had a vasectomy beforehand. Some people ask me where I'm from. I'm from India. Story 2. My husband, male 33, and I, 31 female, have been together for 10 years and married for 6. Our relationship has been good. We are friends. We get along. We hang out. We've worked together. We've traveled together. We talk family, goals, politics, children, finances, etc. We are sexually compatible. Apart from a couple of awkward months when we first started living together and he wanted sex all the time, and I couldn't keep up. We talked through it and figured things out, hence being together. All this to say, we have a great relationship generally. We agreed that we would try to have children in our 30s and stopped all birth control on my 30th birthday. I fell pregnant in January this year, and we were both thrilled. Went for the first scan. All was great. We told her parents we were expecting just 3 weeks ago, but unfortunately 9 days ago, I had a miscarriage. Doctors said there was nothing we could have done differently, and that sometimes just happens. 3 days ago, I went for a follow-up scan to make sure my womb is clear of any tissues and mentioned a fever and pain, which started the day before the appointment. Turns out that I had an infection and needed to have minor surgery as a matter of urgency to resolve it. So, 2 days ago, I had the operation. General anesthetic, an hour, overnight stay for observation, and thankfully, that went well. I'm literally counting down hours to my next dose of painkillers, and I'm very much an emotional mess still because of the miscarriage. I can hardly sit up because of the wound from the surgery, and I'm only moving when necessary. For a bit of a distraction, I picked up my journal for the first time in a couple of weeks today, and my husband came in the room and asked if I am writing about the best blowjob that I will give him tonight. I asked him what makes him think that I have any thoughts of sex or blowjobs at the moment. He asked me why I wouldn't. I said because I had a miscarriage last week and an emergency surgery a couple of days ago, so I'm just trying to keep myself together and not constantly be in tears because of the emotional or physical pain I'm in. He picked up his phone and went off to another room and hasn't spoken to me since. How can I resolve this? TLDR, I had a miscarriage 9 days ago and an emergency operation, unrelated, 2 days ago, and my husband wants a blowjob. But I told him I wasn't even thinking about it. Now he's ignoring me. Edit. Thank you to everyone who has responded. I fell asleep after posting, so I am quite overwhelmed by finding so many replies waiting. I just wanted to make some things clear. He has been a great partner until this. I can't think of any other selfish or inconsiderate behavior. In the past, when I've been ill, he's taken care of me and has been loving and caring. I know I'm very emotional at the moment. That's why I want to check that I'm not overreacting by being upset and angry. I agree that he is TGE wrong. By asking how to resolve this, I guess I was hoping to get some suggestions on how to address this because he's not talking to me, and I don't want to ignore this, and frankly, I need his help. At least for the next couple of days. I don't have anyone nearby to go stay with, and I don't think it would be necessary. Now for the top of advices. So you're married to a selfish asshole. In your shoes, I'd be back on birth control because one way or another, it'll take time to resolve. It's a little funny to get 2 comments nearly back to back. One saying counseling is an overreaction. One saying it's over. Not a reflection of you or a criticism of your views, it just made me chuckle. OP has stated that for the most part, they have a very loving and respectful relationship. This has occurred once before and was also at a time of major life change. That may be a pattern worth exploring. His behavior is completely unacceptable. That's clear. However, if OP and her husband are committed to moving forward, this is exactly the kind of thing relationship therapists deal with all the time. Please keep in mind the goal of couples counseling is not to make couples stay together. A huge aspect is helping both parties assess their needs and determine if the relationship is actually something they want. OP was looking for advice, and this is mine. I also want to add that this sub can have a knee-jerk reaction to telling people to divorce/break up. I get that sentiment. However, we have to understand that we only see a small fraction of these people's lives. We aren't the ones who have to deal with the emotional fallout of a separation. Trust me, I agree. He was totally out of line. I still think it's beneficial to present people options and recognize that a lot of people want to work through problems. People are the expert in their own lives, and OP is capable of deciding if she wants to continue the relationship. A counselor would be happy to help her explore her feelings on that. If there isn't a direct safety issue and both people are interested in counseling, can be a reasonable next step. OP seems very aware of how bad her husband's actions were, but she is still interested in resolution, and that is her decision to make. You can't resolve something that isn't your fault. This is 100% on your husband. You're an emotional mess. You've been through something traumatizing, and his only concern is getting his dick wet. That's absolutely ridiculous. Me too. Poor OP. You need some serious rest and recovery, physically and mentally. You've been through a lot. Your partner needs to support you through the healing process, not sulk about not getting a BJ. How immature. Please don't have kids with this man-child OP. He will never prioritize your health or well-being over his blue balls. He's the kind of person who doesn't let you have a recovery period after birth and will make you do all the feedings as well. My father was like this. He refused to give my mother a glass of water while she was breastfeeding, and he never even changed a diaper, even though he had 2 kids he lived with full time. Your life partner is someone who chooses your well-being first over any of their wants. That's all for today. If you're enjoying this story, please like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.